Hi, this is George at Reproductions.com. Today we're going to continue working on the Hay Wain. We're going to be doing this a little bit different as we get into the more detailed aspects of this and there's a lot going on in this painting and it's really a lot to keep track of. So one of the things I've done, and you may have noticed if you follow from the beginning, even from the initial sketch to the underpainting, is I've kept these grid lines and I've re-added them and re-added them and re-added them. Now this is normally for a reproduction and even doing a detailed, I don't normally carry these past the underpainting. Normally I'm going to paint over them and just to get an idea, but there's so much going on in these trees and I want to get it kind of correct. So I'm actually going to be using my proportional divider using it to help me apply the paint in the right places. And it's a great way to practice using your proportional divider, and I'm going to be using a like for like. Like for like means I'm taking my proportional divider and I'm taking the block here and I'm measuring the block here. And that's the same size of the block that's going to be on my iPad. That's on the iPad. You're seeing it right there. On the iPad, mine's on my left. You're seeing it on your screen on the right. So I'm going to zoom that in, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to make sure that block is the same exact size on this canvas as it is on the iPad. And I do that, I just measure the corners real quick. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm basically just measuring the white corners where the lines are and making sure it's the same exact size. Double checking it. So now, if you look at my iPad, I'm going to be doing this box right here. Okay, so I've already started the branches. I already got this. I got this much of this box left. So I'm going to do this box and this box. All I care about is what's in the box. I don't care about all the rest of the painting or anything like that. I'm going to work the box. So on the box, I'm on the left side where this branch is coming in up here. Now I may carry when I do the trunk, and I may carry some limbs. I may paint some limbs over here that are outside the box, but that's okay. But as long as we get the gist idea, this is the area we're going to be working right here. And then when I do this area right here, we're going to be using the proportional divider and this to really help us get this area right. But we're only going to be concentrating on one box at a time. Now, just like you've heard me say 100 times you've been watching, don't worry about making it perfect. This is just the first block. So the first block is just getting that basic colors and a basic thing in there. Don't worry about every leaf grouping. We're going to go over it. We're going to be going over this area several times until basically, it's like I always say, you carry it as far as you want to go with it. You can sit here and work this every little minute detail if you want, if that's how you enjoy painting, or you can kind of keep it kind of rough. I'm usually somewhere in the middle, to where I get to a point where it's comfortable and I like it for where I want to hang up. I mean, where I want to hang it up in my house. So I'm picking it as to how I want it, because these aren't commissions or anything like that. These are just my paintings. But if someone says, hey, I want a replica of it, first thing I'm going to tell them is I'm not going to do the exact same size, but I can do a replica of it. And I said, how detailed do you want it? And if they say I want an exact replica where I can feel the paint and do all this other stuff and it's exact, it's going to take me 3 times longer than normal, but you can get to that point if you really want to do that point. Excuse me. So we're going to start. I already have my colors on here. These are my basic colors that I use on all my videos. That's in the description right there. It's on the channel, and all I do is use these. I hardly ever go off base with these colors right here. For a landscape, I mix my own black. That's using the brown and the blue. For the trees and everything, of course, I'm going to be using a little more brown and blue, so it's just going to be really, really dark. It's going to be a brownish black or really dark brown. We've got some greens in here. Not very much green, but I mean, really, really dark green. So there's very little highlighting in this area and stuff like that. So I'll be doing very little highlighting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can kind of get a better look. Yeah, that should do it right there. Now I'm going to be painting off my iPad, which is on my left right here, which you can't see my iPad, but it's the same thing you're looking at right on the screen right there. So I'm kind of zoomed in. I'm not going to touch this again. This is the area I want to work on. And now by like for like, all I have to do is measure. All I have to do is measure this, and it's got to match there. Measure this, match there. Now you can make it, if you want to double it, you can double this and make it so it's like that, and it's that big on the iPad. You can flip it around. That's why it's a proportional divider. You can turn small into large. If you were measuring this area right there and you had it on a larger canvas, you could flip, measure it here, flip it over, and paint it that big on a larger canvas. That's the great thing about a proportional divider. It's a very versatile tool, whether you're drawing, painting, whatever you're doing. as long as sketching, this is a great tool. It's only about 20 bucks. You get them on Amazon. Just do a search for proportional divider, get yourself a couple of them. All right, so I'm going to start with mixing my colors right here. Really simple colors, again, really just a blackish brown. Of course, to mix our blackish brown. On here, just a little bit of linseed oil. Next to it, I got a towel to wipe my brushes on. I've got some paper towels. Basically, all you see me doing with my paper towels, you'll see me do it over and over again, is I just rip a bunch of them up, smaller squares. I use that to put points on or clean up a little bit, fine a little bit. On the side over here, I've got a small thing of Gamsol I use for cleaning my brushes. Just right here. Remember, never mix with Gamsol unless, of course, you're doing just a real quick sketch or something like that. But I never use this because it'll really break down the viscosity of the paint. For brushes, nothing's changed much. I just use these little tiny liner brushes, some little detailing brushes, a little scumble brush. And because now I've been asked before, is that can I do this with a fan brush and can I do stuff like this? Yes. Yeah, I mean, you can. It's whatever brush you choose. There's I call them bush brushes, but I forgot what the name of them is. They take a brush like this and they kind of hack it. It's only every random hairs are sticking up, and you dab it in there, and you could dab it and do the leaves. Sure, you can do that. I tend to just do the dots with the points on my liner brushes because I do groupings, and it's a lot easier to be more sporadic and kind of follow as opposed to, because what happens is I end up using a fan brush, and the fan brush makes these specific lines and patterns, and what I'm really trying to do is avoid patterns. I just want to go with the lights and the darks and that kind of thing. But it's however you choose to do it. There's no set way to do a painting. It's just a comfortable way to do it based on techniques you know. The whole point of these videos is to teach you different techniques or show you different techniques I use to be able to accomplish a task. You may turn around and say, "Phooey, I hate these techniques. I like the way I'm doing it." That's fine. It's not right or wrong, but mine are just made to make life simpler. This proportional divider is going to get it right, so I can't travel across it and make some unfixable mistakes. Do I need a proportional divider to do this? Probably not really, but I need to start double checking myself a little bit so I don't get too far away from the original. All right, so I've got a little palette knife. I dip it in there. I'm only using that much from dipping it on the edge. It's just a little tiny drop on there. I pull some brown down. Mix it up a little bit. I wipe it real quick on a towel so I don't dilute my blue. Then I pull my blue down. You notice I didn't pull it all down. Mix it in there nice and quick. And then the best way to tell if you got the right color, you take a hit of that white and pull it down at the very bottom. And what happens is, you see how that's more blue than it is brown? It needs a little more brown in there. Okay, we can drop that in there and see. We could see this time it should be a little brownish. It's a brownish gray, which is what I want. Okay, you always want a little bit of grays anyway. You always want some grays in there to neutralize stuff. So we were just talking about that today. That gray is good. All right, so I've got that dark brown. Grab some more of this up here from above. Put it here. There's a little bit of a goldish brown in here, not very much. So we're going to kind of mix it into here and then hit it with just a little bit of light color. I'm not going to mix too many colors on this because we're going to mix them on the fly, which is a lot easier. Again, I'm using a glass palette. There's a color check if you want to use it. How to make a glass palette, it's about 10 bucks. I include a video on how to do that. You can just go to the store with a picture frame, flip the frame around, tape the glass to the back, or flip the thing in the back that comes with the picture, or take a cheap palette, cheap painter's palette, put a piece of glass over it, put some tape around it, you're good. Just be careful when you use a glass from a picture frame. It's very thin, it's really easy to break. Once you get to the point you start cleaning it, you take a towel, and you can take a towel and run it along your glass after you cleaned it. And if its glass is still porous like a sponge, so after you clean it, if it starts coming up with a color, like a blue is a pretty common one. If it's like, we'll get rid of it. Get rid of the palette, make a new palette, and use it again. Because that blue will get into some of your paints. It's normal, like with the yellow, like you see the yellow, whenever I put the yellow out, it'll turn green by itself. And it's probably because that blue really grabs on the spongy part of the glass. But okay, so I've got the dark parts mixed. Now I want to mix some of this green in here, and I've got some yellowish green. So of course with green, we just take a little blue, Put the darker color in first, wipe the knife off. It's always easier to lighten than it is to darken. And that's a pretty nice dark color right there. That's what I want. So there's different ways to go with the green. Once you get it mixed in there, if we added white, if we add some white there, you'll see it goes to that highlighted green. But if we add the original, some of the mixed color in, and we add more of a yellow here, we get that yellowish green. Which is, in this case, I want more of the yellowish green like this, because it's pretty highlighted in there like that, which is nice. I'm not going to mix it up perfect because I want to catch different colors of that green when I put it in there. But that's all I really need to start with right there. It's just these basic colors, and from there we'll start forming everything else as we go. So I'm going to take this, when you see a board on here, that's nothing. It's just I have a way of supporting my hand. I have a rig on here that my painting sets in, and I never touch my canvas because I'm actually sitting while I'm painting. I'm not standing behind a palette. I don't like to touch my canvas. I don't like to use an awl or whatever it is. I don't like to balance something that pushes against the canvas. And a lot of times I'm going over wet areas. And I don't want to touch that area over there. But I still want to be able to move it pretty quick in here. All right, so we're going to take we've got this part up here. I want to take the base or the trunk. I'm going to get a little bit thinner and really load up my longer detailing brush. So I'm going to get a good fair amount of paint in here. And we're going to take a look at this and see how it goes up. So when I look over here, if I measure on my, let's do this. Let's move this guy all the way over here so you can see actually what I'm measuring and how I'm doing it. Bear with me for a minute. I think I can get my iPad all the way. Maybe I can't. Okay, so we're going to block that out. Alright, so I'm using my proportional divider here and I'm measuring on my iPad. And I'm going to see how far this little line is in this top corner to where the actual bark is on the tree, where the actual trunk is. I'm going to measure across. Okay, for a minute or two, I'm going to leave so you can see my iPad, you can see right where I'm working to, so you can see how I'm measuring this. So I'm starting with this top part of the box. I'm always measuring with this sides of this. I'm never measuring off the end of the canvas in or off the top of the canvas down. It's always from a corner from a grid line I put in there. So I have my corner, which is right there, and it's right there. And I'm measuring over here, and I'm measuring over here. And then I'm going all the way down. I see this goes all the way down to about here. Right about here. So it's pretty close to the actual drawing right there. So I'm going to take that, thin it down a little bit. And that's going to go just like this. And then it comes down to a little notch. And then it's going off here. It goes up through here. And let's make sure this one's on. And this one's right up here. Right here. Okay, and now when we look here, we actually see like this guy's only coming to here. And he goes all the way up to here, so it's pretty close. I mean, when I did the original sketch, I was pretty careful to make sure that I stayed with the right size of the right side of the tree, the right size, and then this is coming kind of down here. And this part comes off here, up through here, and then we see it again, kind of here, kind of here, kind of here. And then there's a hodgepodge of all different black in there, and we're going to get that in there just like that. So we come over here. This is where the line was. This is kind of coming down through here. Okay, Okay, so I've got that like that, and there's some brown mixed in there, but we're good all that. Okay, so we're pretty spot on. We're pretty close, and again, it's what happens when you take your time with the underpainting and the sketch. You can get it to where it's right the way you want it. So this is not bad. So I'm gonna take a larger brush, and I'm just gonna kind of fill in that area. Even though a lot of this is going to get covered with leaves, it's okay. This is part of it. You build it up, paint over it, build it up, paint over it. All right, so we've got our green. We're looking at what we got going on right here. So we're going to start in this heavier area right through here, right up through here, which it has. It's right at the top up through here. If we look, we can see the branches coming through here. It's kind of coming down through here. There's another branch coming out through here. And it actually looks like there's one. I'm on my block right here. You see these are darker. We'll start in the corner. I can zoom in now. It's fine. I've got a reference to. I've got all these different reference points. And when I say a reference point, I mean it's. I got an idea. Like here's the split in the. Here's a split. There's a split. So I know in here it's the green. I know up here it's the lighter green. So when if I'm working a reference point, I know like right here. There's some green here, and then we look right across from it down. There's some of the green here, with some of that yellowish green, like that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid any kind of black blotches. I'm trying to just avoid from just painting a whole bunch of black and dark areas. I want to put the dark areas behind the leaves and bring the leaves forward and put some in and put some darker leaves in the dark areas. So it's just kind of mixing it up as opposed to just taking a brush and going like that. it's important that you don't blend, that you don't start swirling this around and blending colors in. You're going to be tempted to because it's going to make it go faster, but you really want to, just really try and avoid doing any kind of real blending. And we start to see it starts to create the area, it starts to create the patterns that you're looking for, which aren't really patterns, but you're starting to see the groupings of leaves. You're starting to see how they're coming down and how the branches they're forming off the branches. And all right, so now we're going to get some more darks in. Always remember, keep getting those darks in there. So I take the darks just like a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm looking for spaces between the dots, between the leaves. I'm kind of just filling in with the dark. it starts to fill it in. It starts to fill it in pretty nice. And when it starts to get really filled in, and you start working on that, it starts getting filled in, start expanding out and doing more areas. So when it starts getting filled in like that, I can start working more toward the top. And if we look here on the top, make sure we're on the right square. So we're main tree square right up through here. We've already did like this tree branching out, so we start looking at this one right here, which is this area right here. We start to see that it's really, really dark and just it's really, really dark with just some nice areas of the light green. So what you want to do here is just go back to your, just like we did earlier, go back to your trunk. So we see the trunk even though we don't really see where it ends up. And now what you do is you just kind of start working this area. You see that this is all just like a pine tree. So it's all lighter shades of green. But we do see on this guy, which is kind of cool right here, we don't want to lose this. It's important. We see this branch is getting a lighter brown, so sunlight's coming through hitting it. Just like that. And if you don't like something, say I want it more on an angle, just wipe it out. Alright, so we're going to start building this out some more. Right next to that there's just, it's a really heavy darks in here. So there's a lot of dark in here. But instead of painting it just a blocked in and then just adding a little bit of green around it, I do clumps of dark. So clump of dark, do some, then in the areas I didn't hit with the dots, I fill it in with a little green. Then I'll go over to another area and do the same thing. And then the same thing. The only difference is because this tree's got a lot more darks than lights in it, I just won't add very much highlights in here. And if I do highlight, I'll just use a step up in the green. And I'll do it sparingly. Alright, so one of the things we're looking at right here is we've got this yellowish, which are background trees that are behind there, so we don't want to miss that. Because if I start doing this all and I blend this all in, it's just, all the trees look the same and they're all sitting in the forward. But there's either light hitting the back of the trees that we're seeing through the trees, or it's a different tree back there with a different color leaves. But it really doesn't matter because it's helping us establish depth in the picture. And we see it goes all the way from the grid line right where the leaves are, and it's really, really yellowish, yellow, gold, and some dark green. So that's what I'm going to concentrate now. I want to kind of blend those in. The reason I'll stop and work away from the street, you take breaks. And my breaks are I'll work on something different for a little while, then I'll come back to work on it. Okay, so I've got that little bit area, so that's the right in there I wanted to get. There's a little bit more of a reddish orangish color, and I can get that on the next. I can get that on the next pass through, so I can still work this tree going across. One of the areas I really want to go into is this area right here, which is at the corner. That's got the light going through, so we got some nice blues in there. So that's really looking through a blank patch. All right, so we have it zoomed in over here on, I want to work on this area that's got some of the blue background and the blue sky, right in this area right here. So we're gonna need to mix some blue. Not much, just a little bit. So we'll take a little bit of white down here. And since we got the knife out, let's take this yellow. Put this down here. Let's add a little more yellow to the palette. And we'll probably add a little more brown. All right, so we're gonna do this area right here with the tree right in here. It's kind of like, it's kind of a fun little break from the area. So this is a tree in the background between the two trees with a little bit of sight coming off, a little bit of light coming off here, and some teal, and some, we got some teal and some bluish colors, so change it up a little bit. We got some teal. So we're teal, what we're gonna do is take all the paint off there and just add a little yellow. Not enough to turn it to green.